everyone, welcome to another Ultimate Fighter episode review, the last one of Season 30, and it's Season 30 episode 12 titled Life or Death, where we have the final fight of the season, and not really a whole lot to talk about before then, so let's just get to it as quick as we can. So we start off in the TUF house, and we start off with the member of Team Nunes who's fighting this episode, Kaitlyn Neil, who is talking to some of her fellow Team Nunes members, specifically Claire Guthrie, who fought and lost to Julianna Miller in their fight, which was a lot earlier in the season. I'm just going to rest my arm here if that's okay with you. And yeah, Claire is actually trying to give Kaitlyn some really good advice, saying that Julianna starts each round very explosively, almost like she's still an amateur in some ways. And she says that Julianna doesn't hit as much as she thinks she does, and there is a general consensus, not just among Team Nunes fighters, but among Team Pena fighters as well, saying that Kaitlyn is the strong individual between the two. And it is a comparison that's drawn between them a lot, along the fact that they're both very rangy fighters, so I do like that that keeps getting brought up as well. But yeah, I like the fact that, yeah, it's because it's something you don't really see in the Ultimate Fighter often. The fact that someone who lost before is giving the person who is giving advice to the person who's going against the person that beat them, you know. Then get to the training and the prep. Not really a whole lot of different stuff for this one. The main focus on Kaitlyn is to have her just focus on what she did in her first fight. Focus on the striking, use her range. Go for the clinch as often as she can, because she did use that quite a lot in her first fight. So just basically keep using it here. Try and keep Julianna against the cage, try and take her down if possible. Whereas for Julianna, it's also to use the clinch, because she's got really good jiu-jitsu, and definitely better jiu-jitsu compared to Kaitlyn. And that's not really an area they work on a lot with Kaitlyn, because Julianna showcases skills in the training that look pretty goddamn sick, if I'm being honest. Like, she does like a straight running, jumping, rear naked choke on one of the assistant coaches, or one of the people that she's training with. I couldn't exactly make out who it was, but it was actually pretty sick to see. So yeah, basically her plan is to use the striking if need be, but try and stay in the clinch and try and surprise Claire with a takedown of sorts. We then get to the video calls. I can't really remember a whole lot of this, but the main thing I remember about this bit is that Kaitlyn has a cat named Potato, which is the best name for a cat. That's all I remember about it, although she did also joke to her boyfriend that, like, yeah, I got knocked out in the first round, and his face looked, because he was excited to talk to her, but his face immediately dropped after that, and he looked really sad. Then she explained, no, I won by decision, and he was like, oh! It was a very funny moment, and I didn't expect to see Kaitlyn showing that much of a humorous side, but there you go, it worked for her. And I can't really remember much on Julianna's side, but basically her coaches were just talking her up and trying to help her, and it worked, I guess I would say. We then have one more thing to talk about before the fight, which is the fact that because of it being the last fight of the season, Dana decided, you know what, you've been trapped in the house for about 5 weeks, let's get you out in the town. And the teams take their respective, the coaches take their respective teams to different places. Julianna Pena takes her team to a club in Vegas to see the Jabberwockies, which is a dance crew, and viewing the dance crew was actually quite the experience by myself. I did actually enjoy seeing them on stage, and there's a cool backstage moment where Zach Pogue compares fighting to dancing, because you have to have a specific rhythm, and I was like, yeah, no, that's a really good way to put it. I like how he worded it. He worded it better than I did just then, so go and see the episode yourself if you haven't already, and if you haven't already while you're watching this recap, it's really dumb of you to just watch this without knowing anything. But Amanda Nunes took her team to a Brazilian jungle grill, which at first I thought was not the best idea, considering that you know, one of the fighters on her team, who's going to be fighting in the last episode, you know, at a Brazilian grill, you know, grill being the operative word, food, might put on weight, because they hadn't weighed in by that point, and I was very worried that, like, they were going to make it unnecessarily dramatic that way, but yeah, but spoiler alert, that didn't happen. Both Kaitlyn and Julianna made weight, but I was very concerned when I saw them all at the grill, although that concern did drop when they made the weight. However, the main thing about Amanda taking them to the grill was that she gave them all action figures of herself when she was 2-belt Amanda, which I thought was a really nice touch, and it was actually kind of cool. They were all excited to receive one. And small side note as well, as much as I dislike Mitchell Sipe, he cleans up well for a night in the town, I will admit. And we don't have much else to say, so we sort of have to get to the fight, but I did want to bring up some words that Julianna said, which sort of became like the reason for this episode being titled Life or Death. but she did say that she fights for the broken, the beaten, and the damned. And I'm like, yeah, did you intend for that to be a My Chemical Romance reference? I get that she was, what, probably 10, 11 when the album came out, but yeah, that was a very weird thing to make. It probably wasn't intentional, but it's something that a lot of people have highlighted online, and I wanted to bring it up too because very weird for an unintentional, possibly unintentional reference. I don't think she meant to say what she said, but like, you know, and great album by the way, The Black Parade, phenomenal album, but yeah, I thought it was worth bringing up. And then we get to the fight itself, the last fight of the season, and it starts off pretty well for Julianna, much like she did against Claire. She starts out with some really good strikes, and for the most part that is a bread and butter throughout this initial round. She's mostly trying to stay on the outside, and she's hitting Kaitlyn with some really good stuff, setting up her jab quite well, and some really good body kicks especially. There's some really good front kicks she lands at certain points, lands a really good body knee, and actually has a really good clinch, and she can hang with Kaitlyn in the clinch, which I thought was a big surprise because we didn't really see Julianna do it much in her first fight against Claire, but she manages to hang in there well with Kaitlyn in the clinch situation, and she manages to outstrike pretty well, and even gets a takedown here and there on Kaitlyn in round one. I can't really remember a whole lot of round one, but there were some moments where Julianna did threaten with submissions. There was a good moment near the end of round one where she almost had an armbar from like the backside mounty position sort of thing. She couldn't get it fully, but she was able to just control Claire throughout the entirety of round one. Had a really good body triangle hold at some point and managed to keep the back of Claire and was landing some really good strikes. Yeah, round one, pretty much entirely... Sorry, the back of Kaitlyn lands some really good strikes. I apologise for other times I said Claire during this particular thing when I meant to say Kaitlyn. I meant to say Kaitlyn. But, yeah, round one, pretty clear-cut in Julianna's favour. Kaitlyn did land a few shots here and there. She had a good combo once or twice. She held well in the clinch, but Julianna proving that even with Kaitlyn's strength, it wasn't enough to get around Julianna's speed, and she was able to surprise her with some really good takedowns and some submission attempts, and even on the feet she was pretty dominant too, so yeah, I give round one very clearly to Julianna. There was also a really good moment for Kaitlyn near the end of round one, where she got a mount near the end and managed to land some really good shots on Julianna from the top, but it didn't really convincingly win her the round for me. I still think Julianna wins round one. We then get to round two, and it feels very much more of the same. There's less striking in round two, there's more grappling exchanges. Kaitlyn was the first to initiate a clinch, and Julianna's again sort of the first to get a takedown. I don't remember if she does this in round one or two, but she puts her foot against the cage and she pushes back and eventually takes Kaitlyn's back again. I think that might have been round one. But yeah, she switches up to get a mount as well, and so it's raining down some really nasty strikes on Kaitlyn. Kaitlyn is not really throwing a whole lot up herself, and again, eventually Kaitlyn turns onto her back to try and escape it, which is a rookie mistake when a fighter is on top of you, and I could be slightly misremembering the finish, but I think she managed to almost slip out, but she was eventually dragged back to the ground again, and she was in that backside mount position, and Julianna again went for the armbar, and turned it into a sharp-looking Kimura, and about halfway through round two, yeah, she had it locked in, and Kaitlyn taps, and Julianna wins and goes on to the finals against Brogan. So let's talk about the fight, even though I didn't really do a good job of doing that beforehand. I thought this fight was pretty fun for the most part. I feel like it was very one-sided in favour of Julianna, and she actually looked like a killer for the youngest person in the house as well. For her to showcase such unique skills that she was able to use from training, with that push off the cage being a thing of beauty especially, and getting to finish with a rarely seen submission these days. You don't really see a lot of arm submissions, especially Kimuras. It was a really fun fight, really good way for Julianna to win, and I'm excited to see her in the finale against Brogan. Kaitlyn, props to her, she did hang in there, and she did have some good wrestling, but it wasn't really enough to counter what Julianna had. And all in all, it was a pretty decent episode, but now we have to talk about the season. So I would describe the season as perfectly fine for the most part. It feels like it repeats itself a lot. I will admit, I don't really think I liked as many of the fighters in this one as I did in the previous season, last year's season, which was 29, which was Brian Ortega versus Alexander Volkanovski. And, yeah, I thought this season was okay for the most part. You know, there were some cool fighters. I'm glad that we're seeing some really good ones at the finale. My picks for the finale winners are definitely Zach Poga and Brogan Walker, by the way. And I hope I'm right, because I think I might be this weekend. I could be very wrong about that. But yeah, pretty decent season. I would like to give up some customary awards. So, my award for best fight of the season definitely goes to Julianna Miller versus Claire Guthrie. It was an exciting fight, and that moment in round 2 or 3, I think it is, where they're just rolling around on the ground and Julianna keeps attacking that arm, but Claire keeps rolling through to get out of it. Amazing stuff. Really, really good fight. Best finish probably goes to Zach when he finished Jordan. He just looked like an absolute killer when he put him away. Well, that might be the best knockout. Best submission would probably have to go to Julianna in the last episode. I think that's one of the only submissions throughout this season. There was a lot of fights that went the distance. Let's also go with favourite and least favourite fighters and stuff like that. So least favourite was definitely Mitchell Sipe. I just thought that he spent way too much time showboating. I also didn't like the fact that he kept referencing the Gulag during his weigh-in against Muhammad Usman. It was just kind of an ugly look for him. Favourite fighter, because she turned me around on her so much, is Julianna Miller. Like, I initially didn't like her, I know that, and I do still think that her trying to stir up drama with Bobby Maximus early in the season did set something off for me, like, for me to, like, sort of hate her a little bit, but no, she turned it around with the really good performances, and she does have a very bubbly and fun personality. And also, I will admit, it was the rap she did for Zach's birthday that turned me around on it, because it was actually adorable and very sweet. So, yeah, probably that. I would say best personality definitely goes to Chandler Cole, though, mostly for Fitness Chandler. I'm so sad we didn't get to see him past the one episode against Jordan. Oh man, that makes me sad. That makes me very sad that we didn't get to see more Fitness Chandler. But all in all, season pretty good. You know, mostly fine. Looking forward to the finale. And that'll about do it. I will see you all tonight for night 2 of the Golden Path tournament. Night 1 last night was a hell of a lot of fun. I always look forward to these, especially now that they've got their own venue, since they had like the same venue last year, and though different part of America and all that. So yeah, looking forward to tonight's one as well. And obviously tomorrow night will be more of it, and also tomorrow will be an episode of Music of the Week, and Friday night will be the final night of the Golden Path tournament. So I'll see you all for those. And as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye bye.